Hi, I just. It's just like, I'm like, it's not romantic enough for me. No, yes. Already.
Tuesday night's crazy. That's crazy.
This is my vote, not for this.
You never want to. I showered yesterday for the first time since the church. Was this angry? And I still have clothes in my. Well, I'm doing my. I see dolls yesterday. And like a lot of them. That is where I had it, so the rep trainer. We've got let me just make it too easy. Right, we used to get the dolls in place.
Yeah, but how much extra does it cost?
A lot extra. But if you're using 3.5, I can get like.
Yeah, but they still have to pay for it, right? Um. Okay, so week 10. 6 more weeks plus finals. Project 3 is due this Sunday. No excuses, you've had 3 weeks. So project 3 is due this weekend, and then respond to 2 classmates by November 8th. And it's more than, you have to write at least 4 sentences for each. I forget what it says, but read what it says on what's expected. Any questions? So the project's due this Sunday, don't forget. I have a handout today. I thought it'd be easier, we're gonna use Excel on our computer, so this way you'll have the steps open while you're trying to do it.
Oh, suitcase.
Thank you.
Any questions on the project? I have a chapter 10 co-rec up there. If we have time at the end, I'll have you use your calculator and make sure you're getting the values. But mostly what it is knowing how to plug into your calculator, which is the biggest mistakes that happen. Yeah, you know the formula, but can you plug it in? So if we don't get to it, you can go through this outline, but I think we'll be able to get to at least some of them. But to start with the notes. I think I opened it already. So chapter 9 outline, linear versus exponential. Which is better when you're investing $1,000? You get $100 a year, or you get an 8% per year interest. Well, we know 8% of 1,000, if you multiply those, is only $80. So it sounds like the $100 each year would be better. We've talked about when you're going by the same amount each time, the $100. So if we look at part 1 or first one, we're putting $1,000 into an account and we make $100 interest each year. So after the first year, if we're making $100, if we have 1,000 in there, how much do we make? We'll have 1,100, so we make 100. And then the next one will have how much in the account? So each year it's increasing by the same amount. When it increases by the same amount, that's what we've been doing. Last chapter, that's linear growth. Y equals mx plus b. So if it's the same amount every time, that's linear. M is what it's changing by, which in this case is 100, and B is the starting amount. So if you plug 4 in for x, you will get 1,400. So on a test, you would need to be able to explain if it's linear or exponential and find the equation. Linear is just what we've been doing. Any questions on any question? It's on Blackboard. The next exam is up on Blackboard, and the final, it's all up there. I think there's this chapter and one more. Any questions on linear? If we're increasing by a percent, it's not the same amount each time. Because if we go, you can use the 1+ trick. If we use the 1+ trick, this is gonna be 1,080. So it went up by 80. But the next time you're making interest off of that $80 also. So it's not $80 the next time. It's 86 something. So we'd use the 1+ trick so that we have what's in the account, which then this would be 1,080. And then the 1+ trick, 1,166. So it went up by 86.40. Each time is a different amount. So you're making interest off of the interest. That's called exponential growth. It's growing by a percent. Each time it's different because you're making interest off of what you started with plus what was in that account. A formula we can use, initial amount, 1+ trick, and then time. Time does not have to be years, it can be months, it can be days, whatever you start time as to begin with, that's what your T is. Or X if you want to use X. So for this one, the initial amount was 1,000. We're increasing by 8%, and T is in years because these were years. Any questions on that one? Any questions? There's also, we look at how long it takes for things to double with an interest rate. So there's what's called a rule of 70 or 72. It's an estimate for the number of years that an investment will double depending on the percent. If the percent is 5% or below, then you use 70 divided by the percent, not the decimal, the percent. And it will give you how many years it would take to double. It doesn't matter how much money you put into that account, it will take the same number of years to double. That right. If it's greater than 5%, then you use 72 divided by the percent. So it splits at 5%. And the 5, I won't give you 5%, so you don't have to think about which one it is. But the 5% goes with the 70. Greater than 5% goes with 72. So when you're asked to use rule of 70 or 72 on the exam, this is what you'd want to use. Or homework, project. Any question? Yeah. Does someone have a question?
Yeah.
It's outside. You want to open an Excel file? I think it's the next page. Oh, no, relative change first. Okay, the percent being increased or decreased, the initial amount, which the formula I gave you a minute ago, the balance, your initial amount, 1 plus your rate to T. Now it can be T, it can be X, doesn't matter. But when you're finding it, this is the starting amount, and then this rate to find if it increases or decreases, and by how much you take that 1 back out. So we added the 1 in, we subtract it back out. So when we have just the formula to find the rate, you just subtract 1. If it's positive, it's an increase. If it's negative, it's a decrease. And write it as a percent. So when you're looking for what that increase was or decrease, you just subtract the 1 back out. You need to make sure you subtract by 1 though. Even though, like if it was 0.10, it's not 1 minus 0.10, it's 0.10 minus 1. You need to get that negative sign. Okay, so if we look at this, each of these formulas, looking at the first one, P equals 120 times 1.07 to the T. Now some of these you might have seen if you had a physics class. They use the P and P and the S and Q. So the initial amount's the amount in the front, 120. Relative change, I take what's inside and subtract 1. So 1.07 minus 1 is 0.07. It's positive, so it's an increase. The decimal as a percent would be 7%. So it's an increase of 7%. On your homework, there's a table, and you'll have to fill in the initial amount, the relative change. Make sure you say increase or decrease, whichever it is, and the percent. Go ahead and try the other 3. So for the first one, what did we get for the initial amount? And then the relative change? So an increase of 36%. Any questions on that? How about the next one? What did we get for the initial amount? And was it an increase or a decrease? By how much?
38%.
So we take the 0.72 and subtract 1, we get a negative 0.28. That negative means it was a decrease, and write it as a percent, a decrease of 28%. When this in parentheses is less than 1, those are decreases. When it's more than 1, they're increases. Same thing, an increase is a growth, a decrease is a decay. Initial amount for the last one. And an increase or a decrease? By 96. So 0.04 minus 1 is a negative 0.96 or 96% decrease. Any questions on those? So remember to subtract the 1. Okay. We want to use an Excel. I used to do this in a lab, but we don't have computers in labs anymore. So using the paper I gave you, it says, find the growth and how long it takes to double. So balance 1, deposit 1,000 and get $100 per year. It's those tables we had set up. Now we're going to do it on Excel. And we want to know if the growth is linear or exponential. Well, we already discussed that on the thing, but if we're going by $100 each year, it would be linear. Whereas the second one, we're going by 8% per year, so that one's exponential. Type in as it says for a 1 foot year, and then start. Times 1. So you want to fill in, and then we go to step 2. Everyone has it filled in. And step 2, for years under start, put 1 for the first year. This is block A3. Where I'm at right now, A3. And hit enter. Now you don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because then I'll just make you go to 100. I want to know you have the formula. Now to do a formula, remember the first thing when we did mean, median, mode, we put an equal sign. So you want to put an equal sign. Now we want to take the one before and add 1, because each time we're going to take the one before and add 1. So if you click on A3, it will put it there for you. And then we want to add 1. So you want to type equals A3 plus 1. And when you hit enter, it should put a 2 there. Now we want to drag that down for 12 years. So that means we have to go to A14 because we're not starting on 1. Now, when you're trying to drag it, you don't want this one. I think it looks like a red cross plus sign. You want the thin black one, and notice that one has arrows. We don't want that one. You need to get right in the corner, and it's that thin black cross. Then you left click and drag it down so that you have 12 years. Any questions on that? Right. It says to click on A10. What formula is there? So on a test or an assignment, I'll have you click on certain ones so that I know you were using the formula. If we click on A10, we have equals A9 plus 1, and that's what you'd write on that. So if I had what's on line A10 and a space there, you write the equation. I don't want the value 8. I want equals A9 plus 1. Any questions on that? Okay. Number 3. Click on B3. Type a formula to show the 8% that is made each year. Drag it down to show the total made for the 12 years.
Actually, just type it for show the $100 in each year.
For number 3, click on B3, type a formula to show the $100.
When you say 8%,
Oh, sorry. I went down one. Nope, let's do B first. Thank you. So for B3, we're adding $100. Think about the formula you just did and how we can change it. So then instead of adding $100, we're adding $100. So type in a formula on B3 that will use the value before and increase it by 100 and then drag it down. Anyone want to say what we can use? We need equals, right? B2. So I put equals and I took the one before and I added 100. So then that block where I'm at should be 1100. And each time then it will add 100. So you hit enter and then you go back and click on it, go to the very corner and drag it down. Is everyone getting 2200 for the last year? Okay. Click on B10. What formula is there? We go to the 10 here. Go across to B. So where you're clicking is where the 1800 is. That is B10. Do you have equals B9 plus 100?
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
Yeah.
How many years did it take to double? We started with 1,000. We doubled here at 2,000. It took 10 years. So we started with 1,000. It doubled right here at 2,000. So it took 10 years to double our money. Any questions on that? Click on C3, type a formula to show the 8% that is made each year, and then drag it down for the 12 years. So think about the 1+ trick. Multiplication. Multiplication is an asterisk. So you cannot just put a parenthesis. You have to put an asterisk to multiply. Think about the formula we've been using, the initial amount times the 1+ trick.
Yeah.
So you should have 1,080 in the first block. And then 1,166, I think, in the second one. So we put equals, and then we click on the one above, and then times is an asterisk. 1 plus 0.08. Go to the center, or to the right, the small plus sign, drag it all the way down. Now, depending on how wide it is, you're getting a lot of decimals. But is there any questions on getting the value first? So the last one would be $2,518.17. So if we right click, as long as it's highlighted, make sure it's highlighted first. Right click, go to Format Cells, and use number. Don't use money. Money doesn't always work well. And then 2 decimal places. If you wanted no decimal places, you can do that too. And just click OK, and it will make it 2 decimal places. Money, we usually want 2 decimal places. Any questions on that? Now, there was a few different formulas you could have used. They will all work. I think there's at least 3. So it would be up to you. Says, click on C10. What formula is there? 10. I have equals C9 times, and then in parentheses, 1 plus 0.08. Any questions? Yes,
I just did times 1.08.
that's fine. You should have the same answer.
Yeah, I just
Yep.
found it easy.
Yeah, that's one of the, Another one, if we have equals, and then instead of the one before, if we use 1,000 times the 1.08, and then the exponent, I think use a caret for exponent, would be whatever year we're in. So that's another one. There's at least 3 or 4. But they give you the same answer. How many years does it take to double? A little bit more than 9. So in the 9th year, you have 1,999. You need probably another month, and then it goes over. So about 9 years. Any questions on that? Use the rule of 70 or 72 to check your answer. So we said it would take 9 years to double. If we want to check that, 80% says to use rule of 72 because it's greater than 5. To do it on Excel, you just put equals, and then it's 72 divided by the percent, which was 8, and we get 9. So pretty accurate. Now, depending on the percent, it's a little further off, but it says 9 years. It's a little more than 9. Any questions on that? So I use rule of 72 because it's greater than 5%. And notice I divided by the percent, not the decimal. Any questions on that? Pause it. Okay. I'm going to just hit this plus sign and get another page on Excel. Maybe. It doesn't want to work. Come on. New sheet.
Do we need to save this?
No. I don't know why it won't let me. Oh well, I'll just delete it. Normally you can hit this plus sign and it puts, now it's, okay. Let's look at decreasing. We buy a car for $20,000 and its value decreases each year. The first one is decreasing by $1,800. The second one is decreasing by 13%. So in Excel, put age in years. And I use new because that's when the car was new. Any questions so far? Okay. Plug into Excel for years, show 6 years, and decide on a formula for value 1 and 2 and drag them down. So we want to use 6 years. Think about the formula you used last time, and we want to show each year just like we did before. So go ahead and write a formula in 4A, then drag it down for 6 years. Is everyone getting the first column to keep adding 1? Okay. The second one, value 1, decreases by 1,800 per year. Is that linear or exponential? Linear, because it's decreasing by the same amount, 1,800 each year. So it's linear. Go ahead and use a formula that will decrease it by the balance by 1,800 each time. So in 6 years, is the value of the car $9,200? Is that what everyone got? Any questions on it? Okay, the second one, value 2, is decreasing by 13%. Exponential or linear? It's decreasing by 1%, so it is exponential. It's an exponential decay because it's going down. So write a formula that will decrease it by 13% each time. Yep, the 1 minus trick. So what does it decrease it to? Did anyone go down the 6 years yet?
Yeah. $670.
So 6,600. Is everyone getting 6,600 and some?
86,000.
Oh, 86. Sorry. So we go equals the one before. Multiplication is an asterisk. 1 minus, because it's a decay. What was 13, right?
Yes.
Drag it down. $8,672. Any questions on it? Okay. It says, will value 2 ever reach 0? No. Exponential growth and decay approach 0, but they never hit it. Eventually, it might round to a 0. But notice it keeps getting closer and closer to 0. Plus sign go. It's even giving you negative scientific notation because it's not hitting zero. It's getting close, but it will never hit zero. I guess here would be. The calculator will eventually round it because it can only hold so many decimal places. But exponential growth and decay approach zero. Which makes sense for the value of a car because it's always got some type of value, whether you sell the metal, if there's any metal on it in it. Any questions on that? Pause it. If you have your calculators, get your calculators out. I find the biggest mistakes in these problems is plugging it wrong into the calculator. Right. I think this one we should be good. But go ahead and plug it into the calculator and see what you get. And this one says to round to the thousandth. A thousandth would be 3 decimal places. Is everyone okay with these two? To get to the exponent, you'll either use a caret, the little upside down, or the arrow pointing up, if you want to call it, or x to the y. If you have an x to the y button, you push the 1.03, then the x to the y, and then the 4. But is everyone getting the 1.126 and the 0.558? That one's pretty good. This one depends on your calculator. Now, if you're typing it all in at once, your calculator probably does order of operation. But if you're putting 140 times 1.03 and it gives you an answer, it's not doing order of operations because technically the exponent has to come first. So it all depends on your calculator. If it lets you type everything at once, then it's probably going to do it right. But if it doesn't, then you need to do this exponent first, then multiply by 140. So you need to be careful and know what your calculator does. There are still some basic ones that if you push 140 times 1.03 and then you go to the caret, it is going to give you an answer first. So check, make sure you know how to use your calculator. It should be doing 1.03 to the 4th, then multiply by 140, or 0.89 to the 5th, and then multiply by 80. Is everyone getting those two values? Next one. Notice these two are not the same. This one is only taking 4 to the 3rd, where the other one's taking 4/3 and then taking it to the 3rd. So you need to be careful of that. This first one, you want to take 4 to the 3rd and then divide by 3. This one, you have to divide first and then take it to the 3rd. So they are not the same. Now, depending on your calculator, you can put parenthesis 4 divided by 3 parenthesis caret 3, and it's going to do it for you, but not all of them do. So plug into your calculator. Everyone got both answers?
Yes.
If you don't have your calculator with you, please go through these just to make sure, because I can't help you the day of the test, but I can help you now. I don't know. It's on Blackboard. I think it's 2 weeks from Friday. Okay, what is anything to the 0 power? 1. Oh, I have it up there. I didn't put the power thing in. But anything to the 0 power is 1. And you can plug it into your calculator and check it. Since all of this is in parentheses, doesn't matter what this is, we're taking it to the 0 power, the answer is 1. Now, if only the top was in parentheses, then it would be 1 divided by 6. And I think there's 1 in the homework with us. Well, that might be the co-record. Notice these two are not the same. -3 squared is only squaring the 3. Where when it's in parentheses, then the negative is being squared also. So you want to be careful of that. A lot of times when you see -3 squared, you just put 9 and you do it in your head. You're not plugging it into a calculator. But it's actually, since it's not parentheses, only squaring the 3. Where this one, it is in parentheses, the negative is being squared also. So you need to be careful of that. Any questions? Okay, so everyone know where the E button is in their calculator? It's wherever your LN button is. So look for the natural log. It's usually on the left or in the middle, depending on your calculator. TI 83, 84, it's on the left. You want the one that says e to the x. So you have the second and LN button. And the E will come up and then put your 2 and hit enter. And the other one, 15, notice it grows very quickly. But it's wherever your LN button is on your calculator. Push it.
Thank you.
Everyone finding it on their calculator? Any questions? Is that the values you're getting? Okay, last one. This one is used in the next chapter for house payments. This is a $30,000 loan at 4% for 15 years. So we're going to be plugging into this formula a lot to find out what a house payment would be. So if you have a $30,000 loan at 4% for 15 years, you're going to pay $221.91 a month. You get a house for $150,000, the loan part of it, $150,000. At 6% for 30 years, you're going to pay $899.33 a month. If you're plugging it in all at once and you don't have that fraction bar, that whole bottom needs to be in parentheses. So you want to be able to plug into this. This is the one that causes the most problems. On a test, I would enter it twice just to make sure you get the same answer twice. And if you don't, do it a third time. But those who have their calculator, any questions on? Right? If you don't, please try these. And if you are not getting the answers, ask me. But if you do not have any questions, I will see you on Wednesday. Have a safe Halloween. It may be. I'm hurt. No, I know my friend. How you know? Because today is hard. She's like, no, I talk about that.